November is a time of transition, and in this November bait guide, I'm going to give you my top 5 baits that's going to keep you ahead of the bite. So whether it be a swim jig, a football jig, or a finesse jig, this is the time of year you want to be throwing a jig. Another little secret of mine is a jig that's got a little bit of living rubber in it so that it's setting real slow toward the end of this month is a great one. I don't have any of those with me right now. But this one in particular is the Omega Custom Tackle Swim Jig. And I love, my favorite trailer to team up with this is the 4-inch Swammer from Exxon Lures. This thing has an incredible head roll, and that 4-inch pairs up with this. This is a 3/8 ounce. I like it with a 3/8 and a 1/2 ounce head. It pairs up with it real well and gives it some great roll action as it comes through the water. This time of year, I'm really big on my brim colors. I want a little bit of orange in it, a little bit of green, a little bit of watermelon, and that's why I'll even take a little bit of chartreuse sometimes and put on the tail of this. But a good bluegill style color will get you some big bites in November. Now, football head jig is something that I like. I like to be able to drag it around, drag it on those points, those rocky banks, and these are 2 that I like. This is from Nichols Lures, and this is the Omega Custom Tackle football head. I like a football head this time of year. 90% of the time I'm throwing a 3/8 or I'm throwing a 1/2 ounce. Not getting up to that 1/4 ounce size a lot of times, but I'm gonna drag them when they're really finicky, and I'm gonna stroke them sometimes to get those reaction bites out of bass. Now, as far as trailers for these, if I want a bigger profile, I'm going to use the J-Bros Ditch Lobster, or I'm going to downsize to a Rage Bug. Next up is a finesse jig, and this is one of my favorites. This is from Angler Tungsten. I love a good tungsten jig. This is a 1/2 ounce ball head jig, ready to rock. Now, the trailer that I like to use with it, a lot of times, just going to be a Rage Menace grub. And if I want to give it a little more body, I'm going to use the smaller, I think it's the Baby Rage Bug to go on this. Now, I don't know if he's got these in stock, but there's a couple other companies that make some good ones, so I'll put some links in the description to some good tungsten finesse. And that is number 5 on our list. Next, I like those deeper to medium running crankbaits. Now, depending on where you're at, if you're fishing ponds, I'd highly recommend using a square bill this time of year, especially if the water turns over. And you could be in a place where the water's a little bit shallower. For us, it's a little bit deeper. So some of the things that I like to use are your 14 and 16 DT series. These are the Rapala DT series, and they're definitely one of my go-tos this time of year. Next up is my Bandit 300s. They dive extremely deep for their size. They've been a staple in my area for years. But the Bandit 300, the Bandit 200, a go-to for me in November. And the Rock Crawler 55s. These things are incredible by Spro. I've got a ton of these. We catch them all the time on them. This is probably the first one I pick up on a day like today with a little bit of overcast skies. This time of year, it's really hard to beat a finesse swim bait. When I say a finesse swim bait, I mean a very small swim bait. This is the 2.75 Swammer by Exxon. And you can see how small this little swim bait is, but believe it or not, you're going to catch numbers and you're going to catch some really big bass by downsizing to what the bass are chasing, which again, even in November, it's going to be these little tiny shad. So a couple other versions that I like, of course, the Kitech. This is the Swing Impact Fat, and this is the 2.8 inch. And in my opinion, this is probably one of the most overlooked little swim baits this time of year, especially in my area. This bait right here is just dominant. It just gets bites all the time. But this little bait from Kitech also is the Easy Shiner. And it just gets destroyed. I think it's a little more subtle, a little smaller profile than, say, the Swing Impact Fat is. Now, there's two ways I like to rig them this time of year. Basically, as subtle as you can get. This is one of my favorite swim bait heads right here. This is the Angler Tungsten Eclipse head. They also come in matte black, which I really like. They come with the eyeballs, which I love, and the screw lock keepers. None of those are the Elastec stuff, so it's going to keep your bait and make those very soft baits last a whole lot longer. This is the other way I like to rig it, especially if they're chasing shad, if they're inside shad. A lot of people are throwing underspins, but not a lot of people are throwing spin heads. Now, I will say these are very hard to find as far as the particulars of what I like. I've only been able to find two companies that really make them the way that I like them. One is, of course, Megabass. But the problem with the Megabass is they only make this head to, like, I want to say an 1/8 ounce. And where I fish, that is not getting down deep enough to matter. So the key to both of these is that the blade is not balanced. So there's a lot of companies out there that make versions of these heads, but the blades are balanced. It's almost like a clover leaf. And if you look very closely with these, you've got one side that's a clover leaf, the other side that is elongated and kind of pointed. And what that does is give you a very good, no matter what swim bait you have on, it gives it a very good body roll to it. So finesse swim baits, that's number 3. Whether you're scoping, demicky rigging, or tight lining, it is jig head minnow season. And this is the jig head minnow that started the entire craze, well before forward facing sonar. This is the demicky. This is an armor shad along with the demicky head. This time of year, this little combo is my number 1 go-to to this day. For whatever reason, it seems to get bit. Just the way the head and the armor shad work together, it just seems to get bit better than anything else. And this is the 3-inch version of the armor shad, so it's super small. Now, demicky came out with a fat 3-inch armor shad. A really good looking shad style bait with that deep belly. Now you pair it with that demicky head and you wouldn't believe the roll action you'll get out of this little bait. This is the Armor Shad Fat, one of my other favorite minnow baits. Yum's FFS Sonar Minnow. This is the Christie Natural, one of my favorite colors, and they now come in 3, 4, and 5-inch versions. Exxon has came out with a nice, fat, girthy minnow themselves. One that I've been catching them on. This is the Rally Shad, and this is one of my favorite colors. Great in that crystal clear water I fish. This is Smelt. And another one of my go-tos, and you'll notice the colors that I like to use are very natural. This is called Gray Glimmer, and this is the Strike King Z2, and this is the baby Z2 in Gray Glimmer Pearl, and it is a, I believe, 3-inch bait. So other than the demicky Armor Shad, which is pure lead, by the way, there's 2 other heads that I like to use. One, and again, a lot of it has to do with the eyes. I love the eyes. A lot of times I'll paint eyes on the other baits. I really do believe it gets bit more. And this is the Angler Tungsten Eclipse Head. Next up, this is probably one of my go-to baits, especially in clear water when they're finicky, because being able to get a little bit of roll action helps slow that bait's horizontal move back toward you. And this is the Queen Tackle Rolling Strolling Head. Like I said, whether you're using forward-facing sonar whether you're tight lining down a bank or whether you're Demiki rigging vertical with 2D sonar, a jig-head minnow is a deadly tool starting in November. So that's number 2 in my November bait guide. And whether it's hard or whether it's soft, a jerkbait is the way to go in November. You want to get a bite? I'll guarantee you one of these two is going to get it for you. This is a hard jerkbait. This jerkbait is the new Booyah Flashpoint Junior. This is the deep. It comes in a standard running jerkbait too. What makes it exceptional is the body style. It's got that deeper belly, so a shad. It's got a nice flat body, got a nice wide bill, and got that reflective, really flashy blade in the head. This is one of my favorite jerkbaits right now. And you'll notice I downsized my jerkbaits this time of year. Here's another junior. This is the Vision 110 plus 1. So it's a deeper diver, and you can even see I put a few of the suspend dots right on the throat so that I can get it to sink down even deeper. This is in matte shad, and it is probably one of my go-to jerkbaits. Now, I'm sad to say that this is the second video in which my favorite color in these, the mossback version, I have lost today. So I'm going to show you this one. I haven't thrown this one a lot. It's chrome, especially on a day like today. It's overcast, so it's not going to get a lot of flash anyway. Still great looking color. But this is from Demiki. And I am really sad to say that I let this jerkbait sit for probably a year before I finally took them out for a spin. And man, have I been impressed. This is a deep diving small. This is called the Abyss 90, so it's 90 mil jerkbait. But what I like about it is, you know what they love? They love the girth. This is a girthy jerkbait. So you can see same sort of profile, but look how much bigger that jerkbait is in the sense of its girth. So good fat jerkbait's got some incredible action to it, gets down deep with that bill, and so far I haven't even had to weight it. Now all these are suspending. This one is a suspender, but I've noticed, at least in these temps, it does have a very slow sink to it, which I actually love where I'm at. And again, I'm sorry I can't show you the mossback. I've owned 2, and I've lost them in the same exact stupid brush pile. So, yeah, maybe next time. Next up, and there is 100 different ways you can rig these. I mean, just 100 different ways this time of year. One of the things I like to do is rig them with a belly weight. Now this one here, forgive me, I dropped it in the floor here, and it's a little dirty. But this one's got a little more, it's got some sand in it. It's got a little more salt to it. This is the Ghost Shad. This is the 4-inch caffeine shad from Strike King. So it's a little heavier, it's gonna sink, and then you throw in that 1/8 ounce belly weighted hook. I can really get it out there in some of these deep ends of the lay downs and catch a lot of bass doing it. Love a good soft jerk bait. This is probably one of my favorites right here. This is a little bit longer because of that crazy tail. This is called the Whiplash Shad from X Zone Lures. This is one of my favorite colors. I'm going to try and remember how to say this. I always mess it up. But this is Pro Blue Red Pearl. Love to skip this thing into trees. Love to rig it with a long swivel when they're busting, and they still will be busting sometimes in November, especially early on, or you get a good heat wave on a good sunny day, and you take this thing and just reel it as fast as you can. That tail has got some crazy action to it. So that's my kind of top 5 bait category right there. I'll guarantee you in November, no matter where you're at, if you put those to use, you will catch some bass. Now, Tell me what you like to use in November. What baits are in your top 5, or just tell me what your number 1 is. And I've got a real treat for you if you want to see some of these baits being used. We did a pre-front and post-front fishing experiment on the lake that we're on right now. Make sure you go check that video out right here. Otherwise, questions and comments in the comments section below. Don't forget to tell us what your number 1 or your top 5 baits for November are. Like it if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you ring that bell so you get the notifications when the videos come out. Watching is one of the best ways to support us. Be part of that 100% Watch Squad, and you geeks rock.